Alrighty, now this is going to be a classic watercolor fix-it topic. If you are doing a painting, watercolor especially, and your brush cleaning cup is too close and you're too clumsy, things are going to happen. And what happened with this is I got really close to what I considered it done. And then I knocked my water cup over. Now it had remnants of paint in the water from me cleaning the brushes. And you can see from the size of some of the brushes I used, that was a lot of paint in that water. This one's actually still wet. And the water itself just went everywhere on my painting. And of course, I thought sure it was totally gone. Then I decided, well, I've been talking over this topic of fixing watercolors. What could I do to salvage it? And it was underwater. So I did not touch it, because if you mop up on a watercolor or smear, it just becomes a lot worse. What I did do was, because of the tape around it was wet, I did wipe the tape off, because I didn't want that to maybe work its way in and add more water. And I looked at the areas that were the most affected, which was the sky, the astronaut, and the boat. This area, even though it got wet, because of the multiple textures, it's not quite as obvious. So I decided I was going to do everything I could to save it. So I took a little bit of this color, a little bit indigo, a little bit of Payne's Gray, very mixes of a very dark, what would be considered a dark gray, but it has sort of a bluish cast to it, and patched in some of the areas where the water had lifted the paint and made kind of a bubble looking thing. And it still shows a little bit. Actually, when I did the scan of this on the computer, it actually almost looked better, because there was a little more nuance to the shading of the sky. So that's how I fixed that. I was able to patch that. Luckily, the earth part did not get hit as much with the water. So the little swirly clouds and all that remained pretty much the way I originally had them, as well as the crater. The crater seemed to be spared as well. But the astronaut, the boat, some of the shading, it was really obvious what had happened. And the boat, I suppose, is probably the thing that showed it the most. So I took each part and thought about what I could do to either cover up for the damage or to use the damage in favor. On the boat, the damage actually was somewhat favorable, and then I was able to get more of a weathering nuance to the wood, which was my full intention anyway. I didn't want this to look like a boat that someone had been sailing on the water and suddenly got plucked into space. I wanted it to look like maybe many years ago someone put the boat here and it's all worn out, but yet new enough that it wouldn't be well known it was up there by explorers. The astronaut, because his suit took so much damage, I had used a little bit more paint and some ink, which these are the pens I use, to kind of clean it up the best I could. It is not perfect. The sunlight reflection, all that's not what I would really like it to be. But in this instance, I'm going to have to leave it at that. If I mess with it anymore, I think it's going to make it worse. The reflection of the boat and the moon on his visor, or whatever you call that, is a little more blurry. But I noticed when I tried to do any kind of patching up on it, it actually was making things look really bad. So I'm leaving it at that. Whoever looks at it's just going to have to accept that's a reflection of what he's seeing. His gloves never were that good, but they didn't get any worse. But his shoes took a little bit of a hit. I polished them up a little bit with some paint, but I'm not going to mess with them a lot, because like I say, the more I worked to repair it, it almost made things a lot worse. And I figure if I want to salvage this thing at all, I'm going to have to stop at some point. So once I took care of the worst of the obvious water damage, I'm leaving it. The shading, I tried to patch it up. It's not great, but I don't think it's the worst. And his shadows, it never was too satisfactory in the first place to me. The little dip, when I cleaned up some of the water there, I think looks less like a dip in the ground, but when I went to repair it, it really looked bad. Because watercolor, it rehydrates. Any of this paint on here, if I added water and took a brush and went around and did this, it would lift some of it, it would smear some of it, and it would blend some of it. And the result would be really bad. Could I use watercolor ground? Yeah, I sure could, but I don't think I would have advanced any with that. So that being said, I did the best I could with repairing it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I don't think it's the worst painting in the world, definitely not the best, but I think others will have fun looking at it, perhaps using the files I'm going to upload for people to use to make their own version of this. Hopefully it will come out better than mine. But if you want to copy this to use on note cards or just to print out to laugh at, whatever, it's up in the store. I put the bare minimum price on it so that it would just help me with my materials for doing something else. And I think that's it. If I meant my advice, I would say don't put your brush cleaning water real close to your painting. Make sure that you don't have any obstructions around, because what happened is I have too much stuff cluttering my area, and I think that caused me to spill my water on there. Whatever it is, I have to take more precautions in the future, and I hope that you learn from this experience as well so you don't have a spill. But if it does, do your best. Accept it for what it is and take it from there. I'll see you in the next video.